in history, we should teach both the good side and the bad side. Because I think what we're doing in Philippine history context in books is we're only teaching the good things that these heroes or people did. Itinuturo lang yung aspect that quote-unquote contributed to our independence or bakit sila naging bayani. But in reality, heroes and individuals or the time period is much more complex than it is.
Hello and welcome back to In Full Context. It's been a while. We've taken a quite a long break, and just to sum up where we left off, we started with a lot of reviews of the past campaign, the presidential and senatorial campaign, taking a look at every single candidate, interviewing different supporters of these candidates, and pretty much predicted a lot of things that would happen. And you may be asking, hey, why are we back? Well, there's a lot of things that we need to talk about. There's a lot of things that have come out that is truly shocking. But is it really shocking as we examine them? For those who don't remember our names, hello, my name is Brent, and I am here with my co host.
Hello, my name is Marlon, and we're back. If our last episodes that we could talk about are from previous election cycle, that really tells you how far or how long it's been since we recorded. So,
Yeah.
but it looks like politics is calling us again because of the corruption cases that we're seeing. It's not surprising that there is corruption, but there is surprising of the audacity, the
Exactly.
level that we've seen. I think even some of the congressmen and senators themselves were pretty surprised of how audacious and how parang kagahaman na nung level ng corruption. Billion, di ba, yung pinag-uusapan natin. So I think it's very timely that we come back and talk about a lot of these. Just so we can keep the conversation going because this is important topic, right? And sakit natin to after certain time, after the media cycle and the coverage, we see a lot of the talk die and then people are just slowly slipping away and getting away with this. Kaya naman lumalakas ang loob at paulit-ulit ang cycle ng corruption. So hopefully we can add our voices to that conversation. But today we're going to start slightly on a lighter note because we're going to do a review or talk about the movie Quezon, which is still related somehow because you know, if you've seen the movie, you can see how there are so many parallels to the politicians back when the Philippine government is just at the infancy, and then now almost 90 years later we're kind of on the same boat, right? So I think that's a conversation that we need to have and also just kind of a review since this is the last movie supposedly in the Bayaniverse series coming from General Luna, Goyo, and this. But again, if you've seen the movie, obviously you know that there's another one coming up. So we'll talk about those as well.
Yeah, and spoiler alert for those who have not yet watched the movie. We highly suggest that you do. And if you haven't watched any of the three Bayaniverse movies, go ahead, watch it, panoorin nyo. Maganda po ito, and I think it really gives us a lot of context with what happened in our history. Yes, there's a lot of artistic liberty taken, but most of it are still verifiable at the least. So,
Yeah, the movies are free now in YouTube. If you go to
yeah,
YouTube General Luna, Goyo, maybe in 1 year's time, diba yung
Quezon will be there.
Quezon will be there as well. And so again, think we'll talk about the context, no. So I think a lot of maganda rin yung conversation ng Quezon because apart from our kumbaga may tier ranking ang mga hero natin eh. We have people that are Jose Rizal, Andres
Andres.
Bonifacio, Emilio Aguinaldo. These are parang the triangle that
A-listers. Yeah.
you know almost everybody know these people, right? Pero beyond those three names, maybe Apolinario Mabini, again General Luna because of the movie, but not a lot of people know the personalities involved past the revolution. Kasi akala ng mga tao after ng revolution natapos na yung struggle for independence, right? When in reality, post the Filipino-American War, ang dami pa natin pinagdaanan bago tayo naging isang bansa talaga. And then unfortunately after no nagkagera pa. So ang dami talagang steps that we took just to get to the so-called independence. We even had 2 different Independence Day celebration. If depende sa panahon before we recognize the June 12 as our Independence Day, and then some other time we recognize kasabay tayo ng US yung Independence Day natin no, now it's a Filipino American Friendship Day na lang yung tawag natin, but in the past kasi nga sinabay siya. So there's a lot to talk about, and I think going into the realm ng Quezon, not a lot of people know the background and the story, so I think it's a good movie to watch just so you can get more context kung gaano talaga yung challenges coming from the colonization ng US at Spain, how the Filipinos navigated the conversation pagdating sa kalayaan. So do you want to share your insights or your review on that movie? I've seen it about 2 weeks ago now. Since you're coming in fresh, you've just watched it. So what can you say about it?
I saw it twice. And the last time I saw it was just this weekend. So it's pretty fresh. First of all, when this film released, napakasinungaling po mga kaibigan nung nagsasabi na this was the worst or the weakest one out of the 3 films. Diyos mio, that was not true at all. And I think you agree with me on this, that I think this is the best one. Behind, after that is General Luna.
Yeah, I agree. Kasi, again, when I saw it on, parang premiere, yung actual day that they showed it the first time. Funny because I went to SM. We were doing something else. And then nakita ko, uy, palabas na pala yung Quezon. So the day before, nung showing pa, yung araw na yun, Tuesday, went to the cinema. Tapos, nag-reserve na kami ng ticket for the next day. Tuesday yun, Wednesday pa pala yung showing. Yung akala mo, dahil manonood din. Para kasing, akala mo blockbuster Pero, I just wanted to buy the ticket so that I will be forced to come back the next day. Kasi nakabili na just to watch it. Kasi I wanted to watch it. I wanted to watch it. Pero, syempre, sometimes nakakatamad lumabas, mag-mall. Papanoorin ko na lang pag nasa YouTube na or whatever. Pero I made sure to buy it para the next day we were forced to watch. And that's, I think, the last movie that I've seen in the cinema. Parang ikaw kasama ko, Brent, nanood tayo nung
Spider-Man.
What was that we watched? Yung Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Multiverse din. Ito naman ibang verse. So, I rarely go to the movies anymore. But I think this one movie is worth it. Because we want to support this kind of films, content, na dapat talaga panoorin. Actually, it should be mandatory. Diba? But I'd say not for elementary school students. Maybe college, those that are studying political science, maybe governance, all that. It should be required, maybe history major or people of certain topics should watch this. Kasi this is not for everybody. I'll say that up front. This won't make sense if you have this mandatory watching by, say, elementary students. They won't understand. There's just behind it a lot of context. And like what you said, I think this is the best of the Bayaniverse, that they call it. Simply because one, is not even wartime. Kasi yung kay General Luna, may benefit pa yun ng entertainment. Dahil may gera Maraming action, di ba? Merong clear climax. Tapos yung death niya, syempre obviously was a big controversy in itself. Tapos yung ginawa nilang humor around the tag dito yung kay General Luna. That was also fun and entertaining. Tapos yung context na kung gaano sila kalutong magmura. That was the first time that we've seen it on a movie na we're talking about heroes in our history. Kasi we've had Rizal and other movies like that, pero it's, it's still curated somehow. They're portraying what we see in the books and how it's written there with a little bit of, syempre, theater para maging entertaining in film. But this one, we're talking about politics, diba? So it's hard to really show this kind of topic in a sense that it's still entertaining. And I like the dynamic between Quezon and Osmeña. Yung how it was portrayed na si Quezon was really tawag dito, using Osmeña for his benefit. And it's almost parang nag-uutuan silang dalawa. Meron silang point na magkaaway, may magkakampi until the very end. That last scene na yung pinapasok na si Quezon sa tunnel. That was funny for us because yung bigla niyang naisip na tignan mo itong taon na to. Siya yung binayaan ng malusog na pangangatawan, ganito. Bakit siya pa? Yung iniisip na, diba? It's all entertaining. And again, the actors are all from theater. Jericho Rosales himself was very good in this movie. Nung una, parang hindi mo siya nababagay na mukhang Quezon.
Yeah, there was a lot of reactions kasi everyone was expecting TJ Trinidad because he was originally supposed to play Quezon. He was on the post-credit scene of Goyo dun sa poster na You Can't Lose with Quezon. And then suddenly, they show the teaser and it's Jericho Rosales.
Yeah, and I think even that already tells you the misunderstanding or misconception about Quezon, kasi parang he's portrayed na dapat maputi siya, medyo American or Hispanic dapat yung look niya just because ganun yung pinoportray sa kanya in terms of history. But as we know, Jericho is able to pull it off, right? It's very may napanood pa nga akong parang background nung casting. I think Jericho even way back General Luna applied for General Luna role.
Oh.
Like he auditioned for it. But then when he saw anong pangalan niya? Yung si General Luna. That guy si John Arcilla walked in on the audition. Sabi ni Jericho, wala na. That's it. I don't stand a chance. Parang siya mismo nakita niya sa sarili niya na bagay si Arcilla with the role. Kaya they just waited and figured out what is the best role for him. And I think they nailed it on this one. So the story arc, I remember, this started with Commonwealth. So this is when we were in a transitionary government coming from the American occupation all the way to Philippine independence. So ang timeline nito is basically when the Philippines is occupied by the US through Governor General. It's very much like the Spanish realm. Yeah, napalitan lang ng Governor General yung Philippines, and it seems like we're being managed through the US. We had representatives, we had people in Congress and lower and upper house. They're starting to build the foundation of the government, but really all the power and decision making still came from the US. And so this is where the story is circling around, and dito nangyari yung mga event. Again, the timeline all the way up to World War II, at tapos doon na siya natapos yung movie. So yun yung context. So what else did you observe on this?
A very interesting way of portraying is yun nga, diba? The way that Quezon is portrayed is much closer to what he actually was than maybe the image that a lot of our history lessons have given us. Like, for example, ako, and I'm not saying that this is an indictment of kung saan ako nag-aral ng high school. Diba? What I'm saying is that these characters, even Quezon, had just a very small part sa mga history books natin. I even remember, I remember this when General Luna came out. I distinctly remember that in one of our history books, he had like about 2 paragraphs. And you don't got any context there. I didn't even understand na pinapatay siya. Or at least na Pinoy ang pumatay sa kanya. Ang alam ko lang, kasama siya sa mga barkadahan ni Rizal sa Europa before the war. The war broke out. He joined a little bit later. And then that's it. Ang alam ko lang is meron pa siyang isa pang kapatid na Luna.
Hindi rin.
Magaling magpunta.
Pero hindi rin sinama yung
more about.
Hindi rin sinama yung storya ni Antonio Luna, yung, di ba, what happened to the wife, to the family, mother-in-law, hindi rin sinama yun. Kasi obviously, parang, to your point, no, our history lessons as it's taught in the books or at school, para siyang high-level summary. Parang bullet points. Parang ang ginagawa
listahan ng dates.
Oo, listahan ng dates. That's why a lot of people actually don't like history as a subject. I'm probably an exemption because back since when I was in elementary all the way to high school, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm actually the paligsahan sa kasaysayan champion in Manila. Like as in all of Manila. I always compete on a regular basis for history quiz B. But this is the typical quiz B na okay, we have 30 questions, 10 easy questions, 20 mid, 10 mid, 10 difficult. Tapos kapag may tie, may clincher, mga ganong eksena.
Yeah.
And typically the way it's done is we have like an illustration board, yung cardboard.
Yeah,
tapos,
I participated in that too. Natalo kami dyan sa regionals because of Panday Pira. That's burned in my mind.
Tatanungin ka lang ng sino ang kauna-unahang Pilipino na nag-participate sa ganitong eksena.
Oh.
And then you have
batas na nag-establish ng Senado at
dates,
ng Kongreso.
Dates, names, events or place. Ganun yung quiz B. And I studied extensively yung mga history in a sense na important dates, names, and all that. I had an index card na ganito kakapal that I had to review for years. And then, so random kung ano na yung lalabas na question. Yun lang yung nasagot. But, one thing that I'm fortunate is, sabi nung trainer ko at that time, my teacher, sabi niya, this is kumbaga there's a book, Filipino history. You have to read it page to page so that you have context nung chronological order when these things happen. Kasi if you just have, like say, an index card and then you remember dates, names, and all that, it's jumbled eh. Nasa utak mo siya, you can answer probably the question. Pero to put it in that order, dapat maintindihan mo yung chronological order. And even with all that study, Quezon, General Luna, and others were not really discussed extensively. And even in our time, wala kasing, syempre hindi naman tayo kagaya dati, may internet, may ChatGPT, may YouTube, na there are other independent content creator, historians that are sharing their knowledge. Dati maririnig mo lang yung mga additional information about Rizal and other heroes kapag nandun ka sa contest and then there's a speaker or merong event, something that happened na pinag-uusapan yung historical influences and even yung perspective. Kasi iba-ibang historian, iba-ibang story, right? Talaga iba-iba yung context and their opinion on why a certain hero or individual in our history did what. Kanya-kanya silang interpretation. And so that's one thing na I think we could do better in terms of education. In history, we should teach both the good side and the bad side. Kasi I think what we're doing in Philippine history context and books, is we're only teaching the good things that these heroes or people did. Itinuturo lang yung aspect that quote-unquote contributed to our independence or bakit sila naging bayani. But in reality, heroes and individuals or the time period is much more complex than it is. And I think this view in terms of the movie puts that in a very good context where nare-relate mo siya to what's happening today. And then you can ask yourself, how is it possible na 90 years after ganun pa din yung nakikita natin sa mga politicians natin? And they say, history repeats itself, right? Pero kasi hindi naman natin dinuturo lahat. Hindi naman.
One take there.
Oo.
Kasi, yeah, I agree with you. That's exactly how it was taught when I was participating in those. I realized that I wasn't as good at that. So, lumipat ako sa science at doon kami nananalo. But, the problem with us teaching history is that they teach us who, what, when, where. Yun yung tinuturo sa atin. They never tell us why. Why did this happen? Bakit ba ginawa nito? Ito, bakit niya pinatay? Si ganito. And to your point, these films give us a big window into that. And just to be clear then, for everyone that is watching us, na these films can only focus on so many things. Diba? You can't tell everything that happened in a person's life, even just the keynotes, diba? Even General Luna, even Goyo, even Quezon itself. There are things that they had to omit because there's only so much that you can tell within like what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. However, it's more than nothing. Like for example, diba? Si General Luna, from like a paragraph or two, if you're lucky, a page discussing him in your history book, suddenly it's a full film. Now you know what happened to him. It's, if you ask me, it didn't go far enough because there's a lot of other interesting stuff that he did and he was accused of. Same with Goyo. And same with Quezon. So parang with that context na we're used to putting our heroes on a big pedestal. Looking up to them, ang alam mo lang, nasa 20 yan, nasa 5 piso yan si Aguinaldo. But after the movies came out, especially after the first two, now you have a very different view of Emilio Aguinaldo.
Tapos may redemption arc dito sa sa third movie. To be fair, for example, si Osmeña, no, how he's portrayed here, para lang siyang gullible na na politician parang pinalabas lang na nauuto lang siya ni Quezon in this movie. But I'm sure there's a lot more
exactly
about Quezon that we don't know about. Itong same with the way that they manage yung story ni Quezon is only a small percentage. That controversy piece about his first wife is just
the rape
inserted pero wala tayong context what really happened. Parang hindi siya masyadong kinover, and to your point, hindi talaga kaya na makover lahat ng aspect. But what they did cover, what they managed to show, and I think very timely, that's why a lot of people I encourage to watch, is because it's a reflection, it's a mirror. You have to understand na if this is us 90 years ago and this is us still today, bakit ganito? Why parang as a nation and politicians, hindi tayo nag-mature, hindi tayo nag-grow, but instead somewhat, if not the same boat, regressing in a sense kasi mas, again, yung level ng tolerance ng corruption is increasing, and then the level of audacity ng politician on how they manipulate things for their benefit, ganun pa din. So yun talaga yung, I think if anybody that watches it today and people that are paying attention to what's happening in government and politics can very much feel somewhat disappointed na ganito pa din tayo. This is where we started. To the point na ka-question mo, si Quezon ba nag-umpisa ng ganito kasing politics sa atin?
It's arguable na inuwi niya yan galing Amerika. He was there for 6 years, studied the politicians in Washington, D.C. However, there's one line that sticks to me from that movie na dito nagsimula officially, or at least officially, di ba? Ang patronage politics. Ang politika na umiikot sa personal na mga pabor, sa mga tao, sa mga businesses, sa mga politiko, at napakalaki ng epekto ng ganong klase ng politika sa isang kultura na nakatali sa concept ng utang na loob.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a multiplier. Kasi I would just like to say na patronage politics is not unique to the Philippines. And it certainly did not start here. To a certain degree, even before, during the Spanish era, to a certain degree, there was patronage politics. Pero yun nga, what's unique here is that blend of culture ng utang na loob plus patronage politics that could have made it worse, theoretically. And yun yung isa sa mga bagay na very interesting that they showed na right at the beginning, at the inauguration, at the victory party of Manuel Quezon when he won the 1935 election. Spoilers! Pinaupo sa isang lamesa ang lahat ng industry leaders. We have Meralco very specifically mentioned, and all other industries there. And the point that they were making is yun nga. This is where it started. It's all favors. It favors to the Americans, favors to companies, pabor galing sa mga tao ng Cavite na naglakad ng boto sa lugar na yon. Pabor sa... It's all like that. And if you examine everything today, it's almost the same. The same system runs. Because it works for their purposes. Diba? And that's a very interesting thing to examine. Kasi dati ganun lang. Yes, it's corruption. Yes, it's bad. But right now, Jesus Christ, the audacity of these people is amazing. Parang, Diyos mio.
True. Like, to add that, yung regionalism still very much alive. I think there's this conversation regarding the flood control, right? Bakit hindi... There's this ongoing meme almost na kapag ka nagpo-post tayo tungkol sa flood control, laging may kasunod yan na line, hindi ka pa ba galit? Parang that's always the question that people are asking other Filipinos. Now, the regionalism now translated to either the Tagalog versus Bisaya conversation on the internet, yung taga Davao versus Manila, yung pink versus green or whatever. I think the biggest thing is that ang problema pa din natin yung unity talaga in a sense where hindi yung unity na platform ni Marcos tsaka ni Sara. Unity in a real sense na we have to look at ourselves as Filipinos talaga. Hindi na ako ay galing dito, ako ay ganito. Because I think that's the reason why the politicians continue to do what they wish, is because we among ourselves are divided enough that we don't have like a common goal. Wala tayong parang, okay, so they're corrupt. We all hate corruption. What's next? Sino yung papalit? Ano yung susunod? So that's really the whole problem. Tapos yung sa patronage politics that started there, pretty much is ongoing. To your point, nagiging favor sa mga politician kaya they let it happen. And then the oligarchs allow the politicians because they still get what they want. And at the end of the day, yun yung conversation na bakit hanggang ngayon ganito yung sistema. And again, it's being passed down to generations and generations. There's a lot that you can go and look. The politicians today, at least the major names, their historical relevance goes back as early as this stage in the game. Pagdating sa Aquino, mga Rojas, diba? Mga Kapagal, mga Laurel, everybody. Halos bumabalik si Shell Jokno, in Jokno, and all that. If you go back, these are the same names, same families, nagkakaroon lang sila ng iba-ibang peaks and valleys in terms of popularity and the height of their career, ano yung level ng politics that they're achieving. Pero parang it's almost always in that same small group, napaka-very rare na may bago na papalit at least totally has no correlation or connection to the politicians in the past. So ayun talaga, I think one of the major thing is watch this movie in a sense that you become critical thinker in thinking of what are the similarities and why you think the politics it is today, saan ba nanggaling yun? Like, is that a naturally Filipino thing to do? Or is that because the nature of politics that we know and that we learned and we understood from, our role models, which is the US, the system that they have, how it's being applied here? Kasi contextually, US has been around for 300 years almost, right? So mas matagal yung government and yung nation as compared to the Philippines. But arguably, today, if you go and see what the US politics is, di ba, hindi mo rin masabi na they're way much more ahead than us dahil sa sitwasyon nila. And this is like an interesting study on a psychological aspect na how politics and government cycles from being conservative to being diba, democratic. Sobrang daming ups and down. I think depending on what the season or what the political climate is, dun lang nag-ups and downs. And so ayun. Tapos ano yung masabi mo dun sa nung apo ni Quezon? Ano yung reaction niya?
So I understand where he's coming from, right?
Sige.
This is obviously your grandfather, diba? And he wasn't portrayed as he was usually portrayed. And I'm not saying na hindi dapat kinokonsidera ang pakiramdam ng pamilya, but there comes a point in time when a certain person is no longer just your family member. When they start becoming public figures, not just any public figure, a former president, and not just any former president, the first nationally elected president in the history of the Philippines. That is Manuel L. Quezon. And the thing about it is, I see the hurt, right? There's a lot of issues na bring up. Katulad ng sinabi mo, yung dati niyang asawa, yung unang asawa, allegedly, that wasn't really confirmed as far as my research goes. But there's a lot of talk about that sa Bagak, Bataan, I think was the area. His issues with being a womanizer. I believe even F. Shonil Jose wrote to a certain degree about that. And what I was most surprised with is the inclusion of the rape case that was mentioned in the film. Kasi I know for a fact na I watched it in, if I'm not mistaken, it was one of Lord De Vera's shows before na nabanggit yon, and I was super shocked na parang, okay, etong taong nasa 20 pesos would actually say to a judge in defense of himself for rape, with this face do I need to rape someone? Diba? It's just shocking to hear things like that. It's shocking to hear him swear a lot. So, but these things, yun nga, there's a lot of independently verifiable information from even his own autobiography, writings of the other people that have worked with him. And if you ask me, the movie, it didn't even go far enough. There was a part there during the 1935 elections, ang kalaban niya sa eleksyon ay ating kagalang-galang na General Emilio Aguinaldo, ang El Presidente. At alam naman natin, kung pinanood nyo ang unang dalawang pelikula, meron siyang one strike dahil pinapatay niya si General Luna. But there's another bigger person that he asked to be killed. Yun si Andres Bonifacio. Sa pelikula, sa movie ng Quezon, they didn't go far enough. Why? Because from the historical records, pinahukay ni Manuel L. Quezon ang buto ni Andres Bonifacio para ipangalanda ka, eto yung pinapatay niya. Diba? Like, it's not even far enough yet. It's not as egregious enough as it could have been. If you ask me, it's still respectful kasi even with how it was framed, it still falls under yung second chapter. I think it was the second chapter or the first one. The noble line. It's still, to a certain degree, it's there. Kasi I fully expect that this is gonna be like a full, like, they're gonna portray him as a narcissist or something based on like what I read before. Pero no. There was some narcissism. There was a lot of manipulation. There was a lot of political games, getting your hands dirty. However, to a certain degree, it's still for a certain goal to actually witness the birth of the nation without any foreign control. Pero ang gusto niya, he's at the helm of it. Which is, you know what, if that's what gets us there, sure. Diba? So, if you ask me, it's still a balanced state. Diba? Nasa sayo na lang yan if you think not or yes. And again, as I mentioned, kung kapamilya mo yun eh. Diba? So, I truly understand why you would take it negatively the way that he was portrayed. Pero yun nga.
Yeah, yung satire conversation, kasi that's mostly what he was asking, no? Kumbaga, seryoso ka ba dito sa movie? Is it really how you want this to be shown? Is this a satire? Ito ba ay joke lang? Bakit daw pinrioritize yung commercial appeal or yung entertainment rather than historical accuracy? So, I think there's really conversations that we can have whether the movie was made for political accuracy or historical accuracy versus being entertainment, or again covering a different angle. And I don't know what kind of consultation happened before the movie was created. And in reality, ang alam natin na kilala natin na kamag-anak ni Quezon, yung si Manolo Quezon, yung parang yung reporter somewhat we've seen before in the media. Siya yung talagang kilala natin na descendant ni Quezon, right? I mean, Manolo Quezon, that's the name. Tapos, yung conversation na yun is obviously not something that we can judge, but at the same time, I think it's a worthy conversation na if we bring out the truth, how much will it hurt? Kasi depende yan din kung kailan ginawa. Halimbawa, gumawa ka ng movie about Ninoy sa panahon ni Marcos. What do you expect that movie to be about? If gumawa ka ng movie about Marcos at the time of Marcos, what do you expect that movie to be about? So, syempre, that's why never take anything that you see naman as truth. But again, if you see enough to make you think, I think that's enough, and that's good enough for the conversation. Just don't take everything. Again, historians themselves cannot agree on a lot of the aspects in terms of our history. Sabi nga ni Lord de Vera, kasaysayan, I mean, chismis noon, kasaysayan ngayon. And there's really truth to that statement because these are all sayings. A lot of the things that we know about our history are passed down as rumors, not even confirmed information. So ngayon, di ba, it makes you wonder na in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years time, pag pinag-usapan si Saldico, si Romualdez, yung flood control project, will they be portrayed as victims kasi na damay sila sa politika? Or is it that they will be portrayed as, you know, the most corrupt government official? Diba? So, depende talaga yun sa kung sino yung mananalo sa yung magsusulat ng history. And unfortunately, that's how it's been. Kahit na, tignan mo ha, kahit yung history pa lang ni Digong na not even 6 years old, all of a sudden si Digong is the worst president in our history because he killed thousands of people in the drug war. While the drug war is happening, a lot of people patronized that act. Diba? So, hindi mo talaga masasabi how things will be passed down or history will be said after the fact, but there's a lot of conversation around being a critical thinker and just really assess things for yourself, lalo na if you fortunately live through it yourself. Kasi naman talaga yung pinakamagandang measurement ng kahit anong analysis is yung personal mong analysis nung pangyayari at yung personal assessment. So never take anything that you see, reviews or people in social media, podcasts or kahit ano to be truth, because they're not. There's always inherent bias to what people say, and that's okay because their biases are from their past, their values, their personal observation. You can never have just one individual opinion kahit na you relate to it a lot. You can never take it 100% kasi you have to do your own research. You have to have your own analysis to kung ano nangyari dito sa story. But again, pure entertainment and all that, it's a good movie, the best of the three. Pero meron ngayon mas magandang movie na nangyayari live that we see that's happening, diba? So want to transition that to the talk pagdating dun sa SALN and then the corruption, kasi diba almost 2 months later wala pa rin nakukulong. 2 months later nandito pa rin tayo sa chacha na sino ba yung corrupt, sino ba yung hindi. And then there's a lot of talk this last week about SALN, or statements of asset and net worth, statements of asset, liabilities, and basically a net worth ng individual in politics. So why is this such an important topic? Bakit ba ito pinag-uusapan? Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng SALN? And then what do we think about it? Is this really the transparency that people are looking for in terms of the politician? Kapag nilabas ba nila tong papel na to, does that mean that we can trust them? Ayun ang kailangan natin pag-usapan. And I think it's a good topic that we can transition. So ano ba yung SALN? Let's watch this clip, a short explainer, and then we'll share our thoughts about it.
So this is coming from, I know people will react to this, but this is coming from Rappler, but this is just an explanation of what a SALN is. So let's go ahead and watch it. We can pause throughout, so just if you have any reactions then, Marlon. So
kaya ba nating malaman kung gaano kayaman ang mga nagsisilbi sa atin sa gobyerno? At kung nagpapayaman lang sila? Kering-kere kung ibibigay nila ang kanilang Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth or SALN. Yep, you heard it right. Meron pong isang dokumento na naglalaman ng summary ng mga pera, properties at pagkakautang ng mga government officials. Ginagamit ng mga journalists katulad ko ang SALN among other tools para i-check kung may irregular ba sa pagtaas ng kayamanan ng mga officials. At syempre, kung living within their means ba sila. Kasi kung hindi, aba-aba, red flag yan. At dapat masinsinan nating tingnan. Pero where na nga ba ang mga SALNs? Parang invisible sila nowadays. Hello, ako si Jairo Boliedo at SALN.
So it's a quick explainer of what SALN is and why it's important. So what do you think? What can you say about this?
Theoretically, in the perfect republic, this is a fix-all, right? Kasi dito nakasulat lahat ng pagmamay-ari mo, lahat ng mga assets mo, so pasok dyan lahat, bahay mo, sasakyan mo, kung ano mang mga luxury na bagay mo, and from to a certain degree even everything you own. It's a quick view of everything that somebody owns and somebody owes. So for example, if kung meron kang loans or something that would now be into your liabilities. So, kung, again, perfect world, perfect republic, honest politician, I would declare everything. If I have 1 million, a house that's worth 10 million pesos, it will be there, 10 million pesos. I have a car that's worth 3 million pesos, I'll put it there, 3 million pesos. I have a business loan of 500,000 pesos, it will be there in my liabilities. If you total that up, if I remembered what I said, it will be 12.5 million in terms of my SALN, and when I present that to the public, you will trust it. Now, the question is, a lot of the senators have already released their SALNs after this video was released. Did the people believe it? Is the question. Is it even believable in the first place? Why were there doubts dun sa mga nilabas nilang SALN? And that's a very interesting topic to take a look at. Kasi, di ba, yun nga, in the perfect world, yes, it would show everything. But it's just, it's self-reported. And there's an inherent problem with that.
Yeah, I think, why don't we look at the SALN so that we know what we're talking about? Yung SALN ng mga senator. I know a lot more, like in Congress, release their SALN, no? But we can't cover all of it. But these are good example. Ako to start, if you have to explain what a SALN is, to begin with, to majority of the Filipino who doesn't know basic finance and, you know, understanding of the financial system, na don't even think about their retirement, don't even think about tracking their own expenses and all that. This is a foreign idea, right? Kasi yung concept ng SALN is really quote unquote for the rich. Kasi statements of assets, liabilities, net worth. For people that are getting by every day, this is not a, you know, tawag dito, this is not something that they have time to worry about. Pero pagdating sa SALN conversation, we really have to understand na, like you said, this is self-reported. So, gaya nga sabi kanina dun sa Rappler, no, na if the SALN is released, this is a starting point so that they can evaluate whether they think that it's truthful or consistent to their lifestyle.
Yes.
So, yung transparency aspect, in theory, if they declare I have 1 billion here, like for example, si Tulfo. Oo. Is it believable na wala siyang liability? For example, ano ba yung liability to begin with? This could be form of utang, right? Kasi a lot of businesses actually run through debt. Same conversation with the Philippine government na dami nating utang. But basically, for you to be, and this is a common practice, no, lalo na ng mga mayayaman, malaki talaga yung ratio ng debt nila versus dun sa liquid funds or yung cash nila, because they use debt to spend and have money for their business without paying taxes. Ang daming technicality niyan. But at the end of the day, tingnan lang natin itong SALN first. What do we have and what do we see? So anything that we see that outstanding here, una, expected ba natin na ganito kayaman si ex-senator? Meron ba tayong senator na alam natin mas mayaman pa? And I think the biggest one here is yung pinaka-bottom, no? Si Chis Escudero. 18,840,000 yung ano niya, yung SALN niya, not even 20 million. Tas walang liability. Now, this puts into question yung accuracy nung SALN, because we know for a fact that these individuals, including of course yung wife, are individuals that are living affluently. Diba, 18 million, something that heart can spend in one trip to Europe. Diba?
Yeah.
So, that's actually unrealistic. But the narrative that they're saying here is that si Hart daw yung merong maraming pera, that they go back yung yaman, which is again contest. You can contest and question that. But at the same time, what happens next? If we think that this is not right, paano ba nila ginagawa o tinatago yung iba nilang pera? It's very possible that their funds is on a corporation. Pwede kasi yung asset ng isang individual ay nakatay sa isang company or ibang group, which is the case. Meron ako nakita recently na expose that Cheese, along with the other flood control individuals, they have property somewhere in what you call this, region 2 parang yung dating niya parang Alps yung dating they have property na log type doon sila doon kinasal. It's so extravagant yung dating doon, and one property there is not even this much. Tapos yung bahay that they have is not named under Cheese or Heart, it's under a company kung saan isa si Cheese Escudero as a board member, right? So again, if you have to explain what Hal-In is to a normal person, and then you have to go through the hoops and the circus of trying to understand if this makes sense, yung ganong klaseng effort na kailangan pagdaanan ng tao or ng media para lang makita yung riches ng isang politician, you really wonder, why do they go through all that trouble? Diba? If you are truly an honest public servant, why do you have to go through all that trouble? A lot can say, well, of course, financially, that makes sense kasi walang tax or kung ano man na ginagawa nila. But you guys are lawmakers. You can change the law, for God's sake, so that you don't have to go through hoops like that. Because alam naman natin na yung mga hoops is a big way on how people hide their money and how they hide their true wealth and yung mga ninanakaw nila, di ba? So doon na pupunta yon. So very unrealistic yung mga numbers. To be honest, I was surprised with Tulfo sa taas, that to be the number 2
and 3.
2 and 3, the Tulfos. Si Erwin, lalo na Erwin, not long ago was a media, 'di ba? Parang yun ang nila. So si Tulfo as a YouTuber could have made this much, maybe. So does that mean na si Kong TV is billionaire? Does that mean na si Ivana a billionaire?
They're probably multi-millionaires.
May jowa pa lang congressman. But anyway,
iba yun. hindi kasama sa SALN yun pagka dineclare.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? So it's a matter of where did they make this money from to begin with? Rapi Tulfo, prior to the Tulfo, isang bumo kay Tulfo era, hindi naman siya ganun ka-different than other media personality. So does that mean na si Erwin Tulfo, Rafi Tulfo, it's a good measurement kung gaano nakayaman si Karen Davila? Diba? So yung mga level nila or even higher. Teka, magkano ba binayad ng mga diskaya kay Julius Babaw? Baka that would make sense. that would put into context how much money they really earn in media. Diba? So that's the starting point. Tapos dito yung mga generational wealth na tipong kamag-anak. Si Lito Lapid na artista for the longest time. 'Di ba? And has been active, more active than Robin. Paano mas konti yung pera niya kaysa kay Robin? Si Vicente Soto, 400. Si Tito Soto. So ilan ba to? Hindi ba to organized in terms of amount?
It is sa total net worth.
Sa total net worth. So yun.
Minus liabilities. That's why mas mababa si Tito Soto.
Oo. So to declare zero liability, number 1 is questionable. Number 2, si Camille Villar, talaga bang
zero liability?
Oo, at saka ganyan lang. Ilang klaseng
that's what I'm curious of Parang to be fair with the Villards, we already know they're billionaires. Ang question talaga dito is, ilan ba talaga yung pagmamay-ari nila at bakit wala silang liability?
So they're getting through the hoops. Meron a lot of it possibly is through their company, their corporation. So this is not individual net worth. It is as they declared, but hindi talaga to realistically all that you can associate with the Bilyars, maybe the Tulfo, Subiri, and all that, right? So sobrang daming not stated or could be exclusion. Siyempre, given na family, hindi naman ilalagay yung net worth ni Heart Evangelista dyan. Diba? This is just a politician, just the one individual alone. This doesn't talk about the wealth of the family, which is always, as we know, is almost correlated. Kasi doon nga nila tinatago yun eh. Diba si Ko, the other politicians, ang ginagawa, nagda-divest, pero pinapangalan sa anak, sa pinsan, sa mag-anak, sa asawa. So, i-require lang ba natin yung SALN ng current politician? Kasi for example, si Binay, di ba? Binay has been mayor for Makati for the longest time.
Yeah,
tapos kung hindi na siya mayor, yung asawa naman, so nagpapalit-palit sila. So how does that work? And paano natin kailangan i-ano yun? So, SALN is good for only as a starting point so that we can reference kung totoo ba yung nakadeclare. And then once the media does a deep dive at nakita nila na nakapangalan sa company, blah blah blah, what's next? Diba? So ano yung susunod? So ano naman kung nakapangalan? Should we consider that illegal? Should we consider that something to frown upon? Is that something na people should be worried about dahil hindi siya visible? Kasi ang objective ng SALN supposedly is for the people to judge yung level of lifestyle and yung wealth nung public servant. And does that reflect kung ano yung ano nila, yung capacity nila to earn money? Kasi supposedly makikita mo doon kung nagnanakaw sila or hindi, kung merong sudden increase of wealth, sudden increase or decrease ng net worth. Kasi very possible na, for example, last cycle yung pera mo nasa company and then you divested or tinanggal mo na yung interest mo or you sold your interest somehow, then that translates into cash. Naging pera na siya. So therefore, it can be added to your SALN. So this is like another political theater, really. This is all about perception eh. Tinatry lang nilang i-manage yung perception through common release of SALN. Na kunwari, pag nag-release ako ng SALN, I'm transparent, di ako corrupt.
Yeah, and going back to Quezon, ang pagiging bayani is all about perception. And yun nga, kasi they are aware. They are aware that this is just one piece of data. Yes, the media will always do their job. The media and other investigative bodies will always try to get through ano ba talaga nangyayari sa ilalim ng lahat ng ito, sa smoke screen nila. Pero ang pinakamalaking problema kasi dito, di ba? Going back to what you said, yung mga post na nakikita natin sa social media, ang laging dulo, hindi ka pa ba nagagalit? I have an answer to that. Paano silang magagalit kung nalilito sila? Di ba? It goes back to the Quezon movie. There's a scene there where the Governor General wanted to know if the Philippines is ready for independence. Nung tinanong nila yung mga Pilipino, sang-ayon ka ba sa independensya? Oo, ang sagot ng lahat. Nung tinanong, alam niyo po ba kung ano yung independensya? Ano yung sagot from this anecdote? Ang sagot sa kanya, with the full accent, abay, ang pagkakaalam ko po masarap po yung kainin. They do not understand what independence is, and it's just veiled and it was sold as vaguely as possible. Same with transparency here. Hindi porke, ito, yung nirelease ko na ang SALN ko. The problem there is also with the framing ng media na, kailangan nilang i-release yung SALN nila para maging transparent, para makita natin kung ano ang totoo, para makita natin kung kurakot sila. Nirelease nila yung SALN nila ngayon. Now what?
Yeah.
Right? So, it's the follow-through, and yun nga, I agree with you. Pagka nag-usap na tayo ng financials, nag-usap na tayo ng numbers, ang pinaka malaking problema dito ay Hindi kasi siya madaling maintindihan ng normal or ng average na Pilipino. I'm not saying that they couldn't understand. It's just that they weren't taught how to understand this. Parang, yun nga, still going back to the Quezon movie, I was really impacted by that movie. One word is an easier said. Nung panahon nila, the word was independensya. They just say that it's coming, the people will go with them. Now it's corruption. It's SALN. It's transparency. These are the buzzwords that they keep saying na yun nga, tama, I agree with that, but there's no actual action. When all of this started, nung pumutok yung balita na yan sa mga flood control, my dad, who is very politically inclined, gusto niya lagi updated siya sa mga bagay-bagay sa politika, he would always talk to me, anak, magsisimula na yung Blue Ribbon Committee. Si Senador ganto, mag-iimbestiga. Kasi si Zaldico, si ganto, si Diskaya, si ganyan. Lahat sila may problema. And you know what my honest reaction was? I wasn't excited at all. Why? It's another Blue Ribbon Committee. It's another hearing in aid of legislation. This is gonna end up just like the other ones that happened before, na nagilang siyang teatro, ginamit lang siya ng iba-ibang senador, allegedly, to platform themselves, magpabango sa publiko so that in the next elections, when they run, they get more support. But nothing actually happens to them. Very rare. There's only a certain number of individuals that actually got in trouble in the past. Namely, si Jinggoy Estrada, the usual suspects. Diba?
Safe ka na.
Yeah, safe ka na. Hindi pa pala. So, I mean, that's the problem diba? Na parang, and this is where we start to talk about tolerance. How not tolerance as in pagiging forgiving. No, tolerance as in what can I take before I react. Kasi sanay na ako na ganyan yung ginagawa nila na ganyan lagi yung andar. So parang,
I don't think that's really the biggest, no?
Mm-hmm.
Every time there's a new Blue Ribbon Committee hearing, there's always that perception of action na may nangyayari dahil nag-hearing sila. There's always that perception na ang gagaling ng mga senador kasi yung mga pinapatawag yung mga witness, gagalit sila, sinisigawan nila, kino-contempt yung mga witnesses at kung ano-ano pang
kasi, di ba, pagka in contempt.
Kala mo, I'll hold you in contempt. Ito, tinatakot pa na gano'n yung, lalo na the early days of the flood control, yung mga jinggoy moments, yung mga tanungan nila doon. I've always thought, and you can go back to other previous episodes, way back, it's questionable what happens in these community hearings, what happens after the news cycle is over. Much more, I think there is a very big script in play where I seriously think na si Gutesa, the one person that implicated Martin Romualdez, was purposely a person with the least possible credibility, because that will be the scapegoat to say na sa dami naging witness, ang daming inimbestigahan, the only one person that incriminated him is the one pa na hindi reliable. Ayun pa yung hindi credible. So therefore, that would be the perfect escape. Yung parang sinadya na hindi reliable at credible yung witness para yung narrative is that ini-implicate lang siya. And the one person that could actually be reliable and a credible person, I'm not saying credible person like an individual, but a credible witness is Saldico, the one person that managed to escape justice because bago pa nag-umpisa yung hearing, bago pa nagsabi ni si Marcos na mahiya naman kayo, nasa ibang bansa na si Kuya. He was there way ahead of time so that he is not part of this conversation. Now, this person also happened to be one of the proponents nung budget and all that, na siya yung talaga may hawak, di ba? So, the whole concept na siya lang yung magli-link kay Romualdez gives you the idea na kaya naman siya pinapatakas purposely. Kaya siya pinapabayaan. Ikaw wanted ka na, di ba? You're already accused of corruption. Yung mga helicopters and airplanes mo, nailabas mo pa ng bansa.
Amazing, no?
How does that even happen? Yung tipong yung passport mo hindi ma-cancel. Tapos parang dumalabas pa na parang nagiging abogado pa yung BFA. Tapos yung committee hearing ng Congress, yung Bicol Saro Party List representative na just so happen na taga Bicol din, by the way. Siya yung head ng committee na nag-iimbestiga ng infrastructure and flood control sa Congress. Kapitbahay ni Saldico na kapalitan nila sa party list nila dati, just so happened to be the man leading the investigation. Siya mismo yung sumasagot on behalf of I've seen interviews of this person, si Ridon, with Karen, and how he's defending, as in literally defending Saldico, and then Karen Davila calling him out. Na this is all a show. Paano nangyari to? Na ganito, ganyan. But sabi niya, we don't want trial by publicity. We want due process. Ito yung narrative ngayon ng administration. Hey, we want due process. Kailangan natin masunod yung proseso. Anong proseso? Proseso ng korupsyon? Anong proseso sinunod ng mga to? Di ba? Wala naman silang sinunod. Kaya nga tayo napunta sa corruption kasi walang nangyari. Tapos, mo. And we're not saying na husgahan kaagad. There's this argument about trial by publicity, which is very much happening. That's the argument we have against Senate Blue Ribbon Committee.
Exactly.
Right? Na trial by publicity, iniimbestiga, kunwari may nangyayari, there's a sense of action that's because it's on TV, live, at dami tinatanong. So, there's that argument. Meron ding argument na kailangan investigahan to behind closed doors. But to me, I'd rather see what they want to show rather than not see anything at all behind closed doors. Mas maigi pa na ipakita mo sa akin yung hearing ko, no? Because I, for myself, can decide kung tama ba yung line of questioning, naniniwala ba ako sa sagot, is the evidence compelling enough, mukha bang may script, mukha bang may pinagtatagpan. I want to be able to judge this for myself rather than be presented findings after the fact ng ICI na wala tayong nakita. Kasi 'di ba, the people, not everybody, there are people that are mature enough to understand what's going on. 'Di ba, every time may committee hearing, there are lawyers, there are people that are sharing their insights on how the procedure was handled, the questioning, and then the questions that should have been asked. Ang daming ganitong conversation online. That's not happening if these things are happening closed doors. So, mas maigi pa sa akin na mag-show, magpabida sila doon because I don't buy pabida. I listen to the question, I listen to the responses, and try to understand that on my own, what I think is right or what is believable in my perspective. Mas maigi pa na ma-judge ko yun ng mag-isa rather than leave the judgment to them, which I know, so very much filled with conflict of interest to begin with. Kagaya ng mga ganong conversation na obviously people being left out, hindi binabanggit. Tapos nung nabanggit, nag-backpedal kasi, kasi they don't know kung is this the moment na maglalaglagan na ba? Or maglalaglagan kunwari, pero behind closed doors, kailangan ka pa ding, wag mo pa rin banggitin, diba? So that's why there's so much controversy, and I think it's still much better, again, that it's exposed to the public somehow, na despite the trial by publicity risk, it's much better than, kasi ayun pa rin naman ginagawa ng tao even if we see it or not, ginajudge pa din natin yung mga tao na nai-implicate at nasasama doon.
It's not just that, they're also judging the fact that they're not opening the doors to that investigation. So anything that you do will be judged. Might as well show us what's happening.
Yeah, true. Kasi talagang there's contention na mas maiging nakita natin kaysa sa hindi dahil regardless, 'di ba? Merong sariling perception yung mga tao, but for those that knows and at least understand a little bit of that, mas maganda na sariling judgment yung gawin natin kaysa talagang wala tayong nakikita. And again, that's the transparency we're talking about, not SALN. SALN is a one piece of document that we know can be very much manipulated. It doesn't paint the full picture. It is a starting point to compare. But again, for this to be the task of the people in the media, there's something inherently wrong with how the government is set up na ma-achieve natin yung framework ng transparency at may ensure na walang sudden growth ng net worth ng mga individual in politics, diba? So again, these are lawmakers. If they want to, they can very much change how these things are done. They're literally the people that can change the process, the law. So for them to go behind it and navigate the loopholes of the law themselves means they're benefiting from it, means that this is a setup framework that allows them to do what they're doing today. Kasi kung gusto nila, pwede namang baguhin. And again, I think the laws has never been the problem. Lagi naman yung execution.
Exactly.
Diba? Ang dami nating framework to avoid corruption. Ang ginawa ng mga framework, mas madali kasi pirma na lang kailangan nila. Basta pinirmahan mo. Okay na literally, wala man lang nagpunta doon para i-check yung project. wala man lang nag-call out na magkakamukha yung pangalan nung budget, yung amount, yung materials and everything.
Same
wala man lang
pictures for
nakapansin.
different projects in different areas.
Diba? So, walang problema sa batas eh. Ang problema dun sa mga nasa tao, nasa execution. Tapos, in aid of legislation, yung Senate Committee, dapat talaga, to me, there should be an independent body that's always the standard, regardless of administration. Maybe very much like Supreme Court, na once they're assigned they're there permanently, and then that they outlive tenure ng mga presidents and administration na anti-corruption committee or anti-corruption body. That's all they do. Just like in Singapore, there is a framework na meron silang ganong agency na super powerful na they investigate whether it's corporate or private or government. Basta any hint or sign of corruption, meron silang parang powers to investigate and really indict and jail people for those kind. But again, is it not knowing what to do or not wanting to do?
So diba? Will issue.
Will issue yan eh. Ang daming pwedeng gawin, daming capacity. But at the end of the day, will that serve their purpose? So balik tayo dun sa Quezon, di ba? This is all a show. This is all how they want to portray things. Politics is as it is. Politics ganyan talaga. Pero lagi naman tayong and this is the question that's always asked sa mga show na napanood ko about corruption recently. Sinasabi ni Jessica, so may pag-asa pa ba tayo or dapat pa ba tayong umasa na mawawala or mababawasan, mababago yung politics sa Philippines? And I like what people always say, it's not really an option to give up. There's no picture here where the Filipino people or us could just give up. But unfortunately, in some cases, talaga nangyayari yun. And the way we manifest how we give up is yung mga tao, lumilipat na lang na ibang bansa, nagmamigrate. They just leave the country altogether. They don't see future. They don't see hope. So all they do is, what's the best way that I can get out of this shithole? Yun ang nangyayari. So that's a form of giving up. But even then, nandun sila, they still hope na sana magbago kasi dito pa rin nila gusto mag-retire, ang dami pa din nilang gustong gawin, right?
Majority of Filipinos do not have that option, diba?
Yep.
The two of us, yes, we can. If we do something about it, if we put our mind to it, probably within the next 2-5 years, we can jump ship and just abandon ship talaga. Pero that's the thing, I agree dun sa question. It's not a matter of should we hope or not. It's just a matter of we can't stop hoping, and we can't stop working through it. Which reminds me of that quote that was a little bit controversial from Quezon. The specific quote is, "I would rather have a government run like hell by Filipinos than the one that is run like heaven by the Americans," which is cut. Putol siya. Usually, when it's being shown elsewhere, the full quote ends with, "Because a Filipino government, no matter how bad, can still be improved." And that's what we're hoping for. Not just hoping for, actively doing something about it. This podcast in itself, even though, yes, it's a venting place for us, of our frustrations about the government, anybody who's listening, hopefully we spark something, spark curiosity, spark critical thinking, spark even just like an additional 5-10 minutes of your day to try to look something up, and hopefully vote better in the future, and hopefully influence other people as well. Every small step that you can take to make the Filipinos a little better, so our lives a little better, our government a little better, will take that over nothing, over defeatism, essentially, diba? So that's my view on it. And
Yeah, perfect ending. I like that. I was going to go that route also. Yung continuation ng quote na it can be improved. It can be changed. Diba? Literally, Filipinos are running the Philippines like hell. Like literal today. That's exactly what happened. There's nobody else to blame now but Filipinos. Tayo mismo may gawa sa sarili natin ito. But it can still be improved. We can never give up. Not even for ourselves, like the two of us or other people that has option to go. It's just for the country. Yung pagiging Pilipino mo man lang, medyo mahiya ka lang ng konti na gusto mo lang mag-contribute, gusto mo lang nakatulong. Maybe my kids want to grow up in the Philippines. Maybe my kids want to enjoy the country. Maybe, I want to leave the country better than, how I found it. Diba? So, yun lang yung kailangan nating sense of patriotism and nationalism na nawawala sa atin sa Pilipinas. Unfortunately, because of all the things we talked about, na may kanya-kanyang ideology and regional affinity or kung ano mang loyalty sa kung kaninong politiko. But at the end of the day, I think at the very core, we all want the same thing. We all want the country to be better and improve, pero we all have to do something about it. It cannot just be na gusto natin, nagalit lang tayo. We actually have to do something. At whether that means voting differently, whether that means maybe proactively ikaw mismo tumakbo kang councilor, mayor, congressman sa inyo, palitan natin yung mga hayop na paulit-ulit na yan. That so be it. But no matter how, just basically do not give up and accept that this is how it is. Because even non-participation, this is where it's important. Yung hindi pagpa-participate actually helps the side of the oppressor. Yung tipong pag hindi ka sumali sa conversation, you're in a way helping the evil side of it. So yun yung kailangan nating conversation. We cannot let the news cycle die. We cannot let this go by without actually making systematic change. I don't think it will happen next month, next year, in the next election even, but diba, it kailangan to ongoing accountability conversation. Dapat yun ang pinag-uusapan.
Yeah, and I just want to add one last thing. I had a very good chance to tour the Philippines. We went all over Luzon, we went all over Visayas, and even all over Mindanao, even in some conflict areas. I've seen how beautiful the Philippines is. I've seen how beautiful the people are. Yung mga iba-ibang tao, from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And it brings to me one quote from people's least favorite Bayaniverse movie, Goyo. There's a specific line there nung nasa taas sila ng pasong tirad na sinasabi sa kanya nung isa sa mga sharpshooters ni Luna before, sinasabi niya kay Goyo, pag bumagsak si Aguinaldo, may bagong titindig at papalit sa kanya. Pero ito, pointing out the land, hindi ito mapapalitan. And I think that struck me. And yeah, let's not give up sa Pilipinas and let's do our part.
Yep, that's it. Thank you again for this episode. We will plan and try our best to consistently upload going forward. But again, I'm happy to be back. I'm glad that we're back. And going forward, we have way more topics to discuss. Thank you and have a great rest of the day.
So much. Bye.
Bye.